Welcome to USASBE 2013 in beautiful San Francisco. I'm Rebecca White, and I've had the honor of serving as your president for this last year. And I'm going to be emceeing quite a few events. You're probably going to see me up here a lot this year. This is my last chance to be in control, I hear. So I'm working it all I can. Really excited to see everybody here. This is going to be a great conference. We have a lot of exciting things planned, and tonight is going to be a wonderful event. We have a great speaker and some fun afterwards. And you know, we're in San Francisco where we've got a lot of opportunity to have a wonderful time. So glad you're all here. I want to invite Professor of Professional Practice and Schumacher Fellow at TCU, Ray Smiler, to the stage for our introduction of our guest speaker tonight.
What a treat to introduce an entrepreneur like Paul Spiegelman. Paul is a dynamic entrepreneur, a noted author, a philanthropist, and like each of us, a teacher. He started the Barrel Company in 1985. It's a kind of call-in center for hospitals and healthcare units across the United States. That company has been noted as one of the best companies to work for the past 10 years in a row. He's built a remarkable culture there, an employee-centered and values-based culture that you're going to be amazed to hear about. That was so successful, he spun out the Barrel Institute, which is a research and information company that provides patient-centered information to these hospitals and care units across the United States. Because of the success of his culture, he spun out another company called The Circle. And The Circle is a training and consulting organization that works with other companies to help them understand how to build loyalty, commitment, and enthusiasm in their employees. And because that was so successful, he then spun out the Small Giants Community, another enterprise that works with leaders of small, dynamic, growing companies on values-based business principles. What a remarkable story for one person, and think of the lives he's impacted through all of that. In addition, he's an author. He's published books on establishing entrepreneurial cultures, working with employees, and understanding the dynamics of growth in organizations. He is a writer for Inc. magazine and does a weekly column for them. And he recently set up a new partnership with Inc. and the Small Giants Community to work with dynamic entrepreneurs building companies in the United States. He's a philanthropist. He's from my hometown, the Fort Worth, Dallas area. And he contributes to all kinds of efforts there with a particular focus on working with universities and working with students as mentors, advisors, and supporters. And lastly, he's a teacher like each of us. I learned from Paul. I've had the good fortune to have him in my class. I watched him give presentations. He teaches other entrepreneurs about values and corporate culture and employee engagement. He works with students. He's committed to entrepreneurship, to education, to research, and to constantly learning about what makes a great entrepreneur and a great company thrive. Would you please join me in welcoming a terrific entrepreneur, Paul Spiegelman.
Thank you, Ray. Good evening, everybody. Wonderful to be here and help kick off this event. And I gotta say, I'm kind of sad about one thing, that had I been able to know folks like you 27, 30 years ago, when I started my business, think how much more I could have actually done. I mean, I've done a few things in my career, but I didn't get to go to entrepreneur school. I didn't get to go to CEO school. And Ray said I'm a teacher, but I'm not a teacher by choice. Maybe I'm an unconscious teacher, but I will tell you that the greatest benefit I've gotten out of running a business, the greatest benefit I've received, and the feeling I've received by being an entrepreneur, is by impacting other people's lives, is by being an unconscious teacher, and by sharing not only my story with others, but trying to make this connection between running a different kind of business, running a business that's based on values and purpose, based on engagement of employees in a way that, instead of worrying so much about that corporate mission, vision, values, that plaque on the wall, I'm going to focus on the mission, vision, values of the people in my business. I'm going to understand them so well that if I can help them achieve their personal goals, if I can understand where they want to be in 5 or 10 years, what are the chances that they're going to do a better job for me in my company? Do you think they're going to work harder? Do you think they're going to fall on a sword for my company when things go bad, when the economy sours, when we have challenges? You bet they will. But I didn't know any of this. When we set out to start our business, I was like many of others, and probably many of you who are entrepreneurs who have started businesses. I went to school in Los Angeles, born and raised in LA, went to UCLA undergrad, went to law school, and practiced law for about 1.5 years, and then got out of that. Didn't like practicing law so much. My brothers and I decided we wanted to get into business together. So the business we got into was providing medical alert system for elderly and people with medical conditions. So you think about these bootstrap companies, that was us, right? So we're manning 24 hours a day in an 8x10 room, waiting for calls to come in for people that have medical problems and seeing if we can help them. Well, that's the bootstrap, right? We tried to raise money. We built a business plan, tried to raise $1.2 million in $15,000 increments. You know how much we raised? $15,000. That was it. Nobody believed that we could do this. And so we said, we're going to put our heads down, we're going to work hard, and good things are going to happen to us. And that's what happened. You know, we found out the power of PR and what you could do by doing good things for your customers that are going to help you grow your business. And then if someone came to us, one of the hospitals we were working with, to do these medical alert systems and said, hey, you and your brothers are there 24/7. We want to offer a service to the community called a physician referral service. And what if you put in a phone line and answered a call, so when someone from the community is looking for a doctor, you'll give them names of doctors on our staff. So that's great. I don't know how much I'd charge you for this. She says, how about $3,000 a month? I said, you got a deal. 2 weeks later, we're answering the phone. Thank you for calling Granada Hills Hospital. We found out every hospital in the country had this capability. So we became an outsourced provider of call center services. So when you think of call center services or a call center, what do you think of? The low morale operation, the boiler room, telemarketing, all that stuff, offshoring, right? Well, we said we're not going to be that kind of business. We're going to take what would normally be a commodity business where you compete on price, and we're going to be a premium provider. We're going to be the most expensive company in our industry. And you know that today we're still 40% more than our next closest competitor. How are we going to do that? How are we going to build a company and actually survive? So we moved our business. We got a good opportunity in the mid-90s that brought us to Texas, and we became the absolute leader in our niche. So today, we're about a $40 million company. We work with 500 hospitals across the U.S. We basically help improve the patient experience before and after the clinical visit. But what I'm most proud about is that, like Ray said, we've been recognized as a best place to work company 9 times. A couple years ago, the #2 best place to work in America by the same group that does the Fortune 100 for the large companies. So in a call center, how are you supposed to do that? Call centers, you see 120% attrition. Well, we realized also early on, not by design, but that there was something unique about the way we were running our business. And we maybe had 10, 20 people. Today we have 400. But back when we had 10 or 20, people came to us and said, you know, this is a really fun place to work. We said, well, what makes it fun? I said, well, you and your brothers, you treat us like family. You seem to really care about us, and we do fun things together. We have these events. And we said, yeah, well, where'd you used to work? And they go, oh, man, you don't want to hear about that. And they started hearing these stories about other places they worked and how they were treated like numbers, and they weren't treated well. And we said, you know what, maybe we're onto something here. Maybe there's some connection between the way we treat our people and the work that they do for us, and maybe even the profitability of our business. Can we build a more profitable business by focusing first and foremost on our people? And that became something we coined very simply, the circle of growth. And I'm not one about all the business models. You guys teach a lot of these business models. I can't understand a lot of them, and I couldn't when I started reading them in the books. So we have this one very simple model that says if you focus first and foremost on your people, that's going to drive employee loyalty. That employee loyalty is going to drive customer loyalty. And if you get your customers to be loyal, and then what does that drive? Profitability. And as a privately held company with no outside capital, no one telling us how to do it, when to do it, we can choose to invest that profit back into our people, giving them better tools and resources to do their jobs. and the cycle simply continues. And that's how we've operated our business and became 5 to 6 times more profitable than other companies in our industry. So when people say, well, when did you decide you wanted to run a business like this? Where did you work before? Well, I never really worked anywhere else. This is the only gig I've ever had. But when I realized the impact we could have on other people's lives, we said, well, we're going to start doing this more and more. So we have a number of programs in our company that create that culture. And first, it starts with a foundation of a set of values, of core values that aren't that plaque on the wall, but in our case, are in 2-foot letters across our call center floor that say, this is how we behave every day. These are those core values that are the behaviors that no matter what else in our business changes, will never change. And when I started to see that those impacted daily decision making, I said, wow, these people are here for a purpose more than just their job. And then when we started to not just say that we cared about people, but actually demonstrate that we cared about them in the totality of their lives, wow, look what happens then. Well, you have to put a system in place to do that. What if someone's sick? What if someone passes away? What if something happened with someone's family? How would we know about it? So we have an intranet site, and people can go to that intranet site and they can tell us that there was a birth, a death, someone graduated college, and I get an email that says, Paul, it's your time to act. And so what I can do is I can send a personal note card, or I can make a phone call, I can go visit someone in the hospital. But that way I institutionalize this. And you think, is a culture something you can institutionalize? Can you teach that? Absolutely. As a matter of fact, culture is the most defined process in my business. Culture. Now, there's a lot of other processes that could probably use a lot of work in my business, but culture is something we do well by institutionalizing it. Reward and recognition. How do we reward people for a job well done? Is it about the money? It's not about the money. Everybody would like more money, but that's not how they want to be rewarded. They want to feel valued. They want you to say thank you. Just ask them what they want and do small things that make people feel good about themselves every day, and you're going to see that difference. Getting involved in the local community. Getting involved by getting our hands dirty, not writing a check, but going out and doing things together. Training and developing our people. Very hard to do in a small business. We don't have Barrel University. How do we show our people that we're really invested in their future? We do the best we can by developing our people internally, having our own management training programs. We learn over time. We sit down and we write down that plan that says, this is how we're going to try to develop you in our company. We'll have Saturday morning sessions and teach you how to interview. We'll teach you how to dress for success. We have single moms making, $30,000 a year. We want to teach them how to be successful in their life. And honestly, I don't care if they stay in our company or not. Because if I can show that we've had an impact on them and growing in their life, and that means they went somewhere else and were able to grow and succeed because we touched them in a positive way, then I will have done my job. And we can touch people's lives every day in that way. And so now the opportunity for me is to teach that to other companies, because not other companies run this way, unfortunately. And people look at me, a lot of times going, huh? So you're a cool little company in Texas, that's fun, but does that pay? Does culture pay? Tell me that there's some relationship between all that fun stuff you do, which is nice for your little company, and what that means in terms of growing our revenue or growing our profit. Well, if you look at some of the literature out there, there's a great book that some of you may have read called Firms of Endearment that tracks some of these big public companies that you've heard of, Southwest Airlines, Container Store, Whole Foods. Now, what's common about these companies? The multi-stakeholder approach where valuing employees is number one. And those companies measured over a 10-year period returned 1,026% for their investors. How many here have read Good to Great by Jim Collins, right? Just about everybody. The same companies in Good to Great during that 10-year period, 331% for their investors. S&P 500, 122%. Culture pays. And we're working on programs to help educate other entrepreneurs. And I spend a lot of my time now writing and speaking to try to convince other companies that this is the key to the promised land. that the key to running a great company is to focus on your people. It's not just the right thing to do, it's good for business. And it's something that I think would be a great opportunity for all of you to make sure that you're integrating these kind of teachings into the work that you're doing as the teachers of the future entrepreneurs. I find I get a great opportunity to talk to students as you guys do. I don't get to see them every day or every week like you do, but when I see them, I see tremendous passion, and I see a desire for something more. They want more than just to make money. They want to change the world. So you have the opportunity to share with them how they can change the world, how they can make a difference in other people's lives, and how at the end of the day, the money isn't what's going to make them happy. What's going to make them happy is that they impacted the lives of individuals that they were able to touch during their careers. I have so many examples of what we were able to do, and today, I spend every day writing personal note cards. Forget the emails, forget social media, get out those handwritten note cards, write those notes. I send them to every employee on the anniversary date of their employment. I send them to our customers. Every day I'm writing these note cards. And the payback I get by treating people well is a stack of letters that I have from employees over the years who have said, "Thank you, this is the best place I've ever worked." Or my wife says, "I'm finally smiling when I come home every day." And it makes me feel good to have touched people that way. Or in a time of need, we had a guy that was 54 years old and got struck down with cancer, stage 4 cancer, in October of 2010. And in that year, he struggled in a wheelchair to make it to our holiday party, which is a huge event in our company. And he came to that holiday party and he heard something about a decision I made in the company. You know, that year, tough year 2010, we didn't hit our financial goals. And as a result of not hitting our financial goals, we wouldn't have funded our employee bonus plan. But I felt that the company and its people had worked so hard during that time that I was going to pay a bonus anyway. It wasn't a full bonus, it was a partial bonus. But I did that. And he heard about this at the party. And he wrote me a letter 2 weeks after the party, and he said, "Paul, you know, I was at the party and I was talking to other people and heard about the fact that you were going to pay this small bonus." And he said, "You know, a bunch of us were talking, and while we love the fact that you were going to give us that bonus, we'd rather you take that money and grow the company. We're just happy to have a job. We're so happy with what you do for us. We'd rather give the money back to you to help you grow this company." How do you think that made me feel? I get chills just telling that story, right? He died 2 months later. He's dying of stage 4 cancer, talking about how they're going to give their bonus back to me. It's not about the money. It's about making a difference. We've got to find a way to institutionalize this kind of work in our businesses. I didn't get the opportunity to learn how to be an entrepreneur. I didn't get the opportunity to go to school to learn the kinds of things that you guys are teaching. I just learned the hard way. I learned by doing, I learned by making mistakes. I still am learning every day by meeting other great people. And when I go out and I hear somebody speak, who I want to hear is not necessarily the big famous name. I want to hear it from my peers, people that are going through the same thing that I am. So the experiences that you guys are bringing to students at this point in their lives are so critical. And so I implore you to take the opportunity to teach them about the importance of values. And the fact is that people come first. And that financials in our world, financials need to be not the leading indicator of success, but the lagging indicator of success. People first, then customers, and then the profit will come. We have plenty of evidence of that. We're going to have more evidence because there's still a lot out there that are cynics that are saying, "Come on, show me the money." And we're doing more research to show them that. And I got to tell you that years ago when I started talking to MBA programs and I'd go to the students, they'd look at me like I had 3 heads. Like, what are you talking about this stuff? I mean, they got their laptops open and they're learning about all the numbers and the business plans. I said, close the laptop. I'm going to tell you what really matters in business. And of course, all that stuff matters. But this matters a lot. And I'll tell you that over time, I think that your folks that you teach will get much more out of their businesses and much more out of their lives by making an impact on other people than they will in just about anything else that they do. And I'll leave you with just one quote. It came from my brother. I told you I started my business with my two brothers. My older brother left the business about 12 years ago. Our younger brother, Barry, passed away 5 years ago from a brain tumor. He was diagnosed a year after we started our business, but he lived another 19 years. And at his funeral, someone came up to me and said, you know, I used to work out with Barry. Barry loved to cycle and he loved to ride and do spinning classes and all that. And he said, you know, Barry said something to me, because if you know, in a spinning class or when you're riding a bike, you got that sprocket in the back, and then you've got the little sprocket and the big sprocket, and if you go into the big sprocket, it's a little harder to pedal, right? So they'd be on these races, and Barry would be the one always yelling out to the team, keep it in the big ring. Keep it in the big ring. That means take the challenge, put your head down, work hard, and good things are going to happen to you. And that is one thing that I took from him that I leave with you, which is, if you keep it in the big ring, if you keep your heads down, if you teach your folks to have good values, have integrity in what they do, have basic respect for other people and treat people well, good things will happen for them. They'll come back telling you stories that will make you feel good about yourself and your life. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the conference. We have a couple minutes for questions if anybody's got one.
I'm a little curious to ask you, how you would do this in a unionized environment?
Yeah, the question was how to do it in a unionized environment, and that's a very good question. I get that question a lot. It's the same question you would get about a big company or a company that has a lot of challenges around culture or regulation or rules. And I think it's the same answer. It starts with leadership. And it starts with getting people at the top to understand that there's going to be an impact on the way the company runs and the company succeeds by putting in some of these practices. So I'm not a trainer, I'm not a consultant, I don't deal with union shops in a way that I can help make them work, although we've got a number of clients that run union operations, hospitals, etc. And we've seen the same kind of things apply to them. But it starts with the leadership of that organization buying in. The fact is, 50% of the culture of any organization is the individual leader that runs that organization, or the team lead, or whoever the supervisor is. And if we don't get buy-in there, I'm sorry, this is just not going to work. You got to walk the talk. You got to be able to do, I'm an introvert. I'm the guy that like to sit in his office with the door closed and lying under the desk in a fetal position wondering what to do next. But we got to get out of our comfort zone. We got to get out there and make this difference. So I'm not saying it's easy. I don't have the answer to that, but I got to believe that it starts with leadership not getting that we're moving from the old school. Command and control leadership is gone. It's now trust and track. We can't tell people what they want to do anymore. We have to listen to them, let them implement their ideas, and give them credit for it. One in the back.
That was really inspirational. And this group has a family business special interest group, and there's a number of us here at this session who are involved with that. And I know I speak for them when I ask you, to what extent do you think your direction, your values are influenced by having so much family ownership over the years?
Yeah, great question. I think it's everything. I don't know that it has to do with family ownership as it has to do with having good parents. And when people say, where did this come from? The only answer I could give is I think our parents raised three guys with good core values. And my dad taught me lessons that I'll never forget. Never be nice, always be nice, never be nice, always be nice, never burn a bridge, right? Treat people with respect. Is it amazing how little that's sometimes done in the business world today? It drives me nuts. I see it, I still see it every day. So it's the basics, and I think, my parents just celebrated 60 years of marriage, and they raised us in a way that I think said, be nice to other people. I mean, it's as simple as that. And then when you start doing it and you realize that where they went before wasn't so nice, and people felt like you had to tell them what to do and how to do it. So having that family dynamic absolutely was a big influence on what we were able to build. Anybody else? Yeah. The question was, do I have advice for students or employees who are in a situation that doesn't have an environment like this, and they may be troubled, and what do they do about it? I think one of the very sad things is, I just did a whole set of interviews last week on this topic, because the research is showing that in 2013, believe it or not, 30%, a third of all employees are going to consider looking for another job this year. And the indication is the reason for that is because the economy seems to be picking up. So people are getting more confident. Well, now I'm going to go look for that new job. And so people were asking me to comment on that. And I said, well, first of all, before you start looking for a new job, have you taken the time and the accountability for making sure the place you're at today is really the wrong place for you? So sometimes we settle. A lot of times we settle. I understand the security about it, and I have a job, but have I talked to my supervisor about it? Have I told them that there are things with this environment that I'm not happy with? So I do believe that it's not just about leadership. I believe employees, students, et cetera, have personal responsibility to do their part to create a positive culture. But once you reach out, you have that conversation. I think the other thing is people don't realize we're not the only cool little company out there to work for. There's a lot of companies. We don't make the news, but we are making a difference. And so I encourage people not to settle. And it's very hard for that person maybe out of school that's just looking for that first job. But I want people to follow their passion. More importantly, find their passion. I didn't know what my passion was: employee engagement and culture in my 20s, in my 30s, in my 40s, and yep, I'm over 50. So it takes a while to get there. But companies are realizing, and the students that I meet definitely want something more. And so I have a pretty hard line on this, that if you've made that effort and it's not an environment in which you think you're going to thrive or grow, you need to go. And you need to have the courage to go, because there are jobs, there are other people that will bring you on and show you the way to developing your vision.
Maybe you answered some of my questions. My question involves what kind of people do you hire, and how do you screen for the people that you think would fit into your culture? That's
a great question. Screening for fit is very different than screening for skill. Look, in this economy the last few years, the fact is there's a lot of people that can do just about any job we have. There's people that have the resume that really looks good on paper. Well, just look at our business. In our call center, those single moms, that job of answering phones, for every 125 resumes, we hire 3 people. Because what we do is we screen for empathy, compassion. We're looking for people that bring the heart. We can teach them the skills, but we can't teach them to be nice. We can't teach them to care. And even for senior executives, we put people through the ringer to screen for fit and culture by having multiple interviews in different situations, and have people who are responsible only to screen for culture. And the fact is, we don't always succeed. The other side of that is when we make mistakes, and we all make mistakes trying to bring on people that fit, do we have the courage to make the right move, which is to let them go and to move them on to another organization? We all keep people in our organizations way too long, and when you realize you made a mistake, you owe it to them and their family to move and to act now. But your comment is great, because it all starts with doing the best you can to get the right people on the right team to begin with. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Paul. That is a wonderful message and a great way to start our conference. We have a small gift for you here. This is one of our tote bags that are for sale out here. Actually.
All right.
We hope you enjoy that.
Thank you very much. Buy them outside.
Thank you, Paul. Okay, that was a wonderful way to start the conference, and now we've got some fun. We have a wonderful sponsor with us tonight. I want to introduce Michael Houlihan and Bonnie Harvey. They're going to join me up here on stage. Michael is the managing partner of Great Thinks and the founder of Barefoot Wines, now a division of Gallo Wines, and the provider of the Barefoot Bubbly, which we're going to enjoy tonight. Michael will be our featured keynote. Michael will be our featured keynote speaker on Sunday morning following our pancake breakfast, so all of you are going to want to come to that. And I think we're going to begin tonight with a toast. So let me get us some champagne. Thank you.
So this is so unfair, isn't it? You know, Bonnie and I started this brand in our laundry room in our rented house, a country house up in Sonoma County. We had no money. We had no knowledge of the wine industry. We built a very large and successful brand, and we did it without advertising. We just supported worthy causes. Today, Barefoot is, I guess, the #1 brand in the country, and we're very proud of it. We did what a lot of entrepreneurs want to do. We sold our business, so we actually monetized on our brand equity. It wasn't easy. We're going to talk a little bit about that on Sunday. Bonnie calls it a get-rich-slow scheme. But a lot of people want to know whose foot's on the label, and so Bonnie's going to tell you how that happened.
Well, it started off when we realized that we were in the wine industry, which we never really planned on. It was kind of an accident, which we can talk a little more about later. But I said, if we're going to be in the wine industry, I'd better be able to pronounce all the words on the label. And I don't speak French. I didn't know the appellations. I didn't know the varietals. So I said, wine seems a little snooty to me, and I don't know too much about it, and maybe there's a lot of other people out there that feel the same way. So we're going to make it friendly. So we decided to put a foot on the label. So that's the way grapes were originally crushed. We gave our ideas to an artist, and she came back with a number of different variations of a foot that we could use in a certain way that we had already designed. And none of them were quite right. I said, I'm looking for a prettier foot. I'm looking for something long and slender. She says, well, give me an example. And I said, well, I've got one of those right here on the end of my leg. So I got the largest ink pad that we could find, put my foot in it, put it on some artist paper, sent it off to the artist, and the rest is history.
So when you're an entrepreneur, you learn how to be resourceful, even if it means using your own body parts. So we're going to be enjoying some Barefoot Bubbly here in a few seconds, and I will finish my comments before the fizz goes out of the glass. But I wanted to tell you how it got named, and this is another story about resourcefulness. When you start a business and you're in your laundry room and you don't have we didn't even have money for a washer and a dryer, so we had room in there. I spent the first year with a desk that was a door that was on top of two sawhorses, and I was looking at a hot water, cold water outlet and a drain, which is where the washing machine was supposed to go, for 2 years. And so that was my desk. And I went down to LA to try to sell wine about 2 months ago, just, in the holiday season, and I was having a terrible time.
2 months ago?
Well, 2 months ago, 30 years ago. And it was the holiday season in 1986. And boy, I got skunked. Nobody would buy any wine in LA. And when I came home, Bonnie's mother, who we had recruited from Oregon, who was a blueberry farmer, came and lived with us and helped us out get the business started. And she was a salt of the earth type, a Rosie the Riveter from World War II, and had quite a story in her own account. And she saw me come in that night, and it was a cold, rainy night, and I was dragging my briefcase in, and she said, "Why are you so hangdog?" You know, she used a lot of folksy terms like that. And I said, "Well," I said, "I just got back from LA and I couldn't sell any wine down there." She says, "Well, what seems to be the problem?" I said, "Well, everybody wants to buy champagne this time of year." I said, "You know, and we don't have any champagne. We're trying to sell wine." And she says, "You know, I think you should have a champagne." I said, "Come on, Mabel." I said, "I can hardly sell the wine." I said, "I need another SKU like a duck needs a shotgun. You know, I got to sell this wine." And she says, "You know, you really should have a wine." I said, "Okay, if we're going to have a wine, what are we going to call this? I mean, a champagne, what are we going to call it?" She says, "Well, I'd call it Barefoot Bubbly." So here you have this 80-year-old woman telling me to call the champagne Barefoot Bubbly. Everybody used the name Bubbly, the British called it Bubbly, but nobody ever put it in print. Nobody ever really copyrighted that word. So we did it Barefoot, and Barefoot Bubbly is what you're going to enjoy tonight. And I wish you all a really great conference, and I hope that we all learn a few things about entrepreneurialism, and I know that I'm looking forward to talking to you on Sunday. I enjoyed Paul's comments about culture. I've always known that it was something more than what you get in your yogurt. And so, and certainly, it's a primary ingredient in your business. Thank you very much. Well, you can go now. It's all poured for you, waiting for you in the back.